Welcome to Small Business Big Dreams, where every episode is a new journey into the world of entrepreneurs who are daring to dream big. In this corner of the internet, we're going to celebrate the innovation and the perseverance it takes to turn small ventures into booming successes. These small businesses aren't just places to shop, they're actually hubs of creativity and passion, each with its own amazing story. From the mom and pop shops to the innovative startups, we're going to explore it all. You'll meet the faces behind the brands, hear their stories, and maybe even get inspired to start your own venture. Whether you're a longtime local or new in town, come along with me for the ride and let's celebrate the backbone of our communities one small business at a time. Now let's dream big and spread some love for our local heroes. All right, well, welcome back to another week of Small Business Big Dreams. I went out west this time. I am out in the McHenry area. I know I told you guys I'm like in Lake County a lot. I've been over in Wisconsin recently, but now today we are out in McHenry and not too far into it either. I am at a childhood, God, I can't imagine how many memories I have coming out here, but we're at the McHenry Outdoor Theater over on 120 in Chapel Hill, right?
It's Chapel Hill and Lincoln Road.
Lincoln Road on the other corner.
Just by Route 120. Yep.
Well, I'm sitting here with Scott, owner of the McHenry Outdoor Theater, right? Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. I'm excited, to learn a little bit about who you are and this industry. I mean, the theater industry. I mean, I'm a movie junkie. I love movies.
You and me both.
I love that. So this is going to be a fun one for me. A little nostalgic for me, a little exciting, and what you're doing with the place now, we'll go through all of that. So let's talk about you, Scott. Scott, what's your background, and then we'll talk about how you ended up here.
Sure. Well, let's see. My name's Scott Dean. I'm 47 years old. This is my 25th year here at the McHenry Outdoor Theater. I got started in the year 2000. There was a small downtown theater here in McHenry, and I grew up in McHenry my whole life. So my childhood was spent here at the drive-in or at the downtown theater. It was a little two-screener in McHenry on Green Street.
Yeah,
so
God, I remember that one too.
My memories, I remember the first movie I saw, who I saw it with.
Yeah.
The smell, the candy that you had. It was just, movies have been so ingrained into me from a young age.
Okay.
And it became such a building block of who I became as I got older. So the theater in downtown McHenry closed down. And I was young. I was in my 20s. I had no idea what I was doing. I kept calling the phone number on the marquee for the person who was selling it. Of course, would never get a call back.
Yeah.
I had heard that it had been purchased, so I walked down to meet the new owner, and I said, "I'll do anything. Anything to get this place open. I'll do it." So I got started in the business as a doorman. I think I was making $1.50 an hour.
Oh my gosh.
So I would wear my little suit, and I would just open the door for people. But I said, I'm like, man, I love, like you, I've always been a huge movie buff. I love the movie industry. I love the memories that I have as a child, and I wanted to continue that for other generations. So when I had that job as a doorman, I was saying to myself, I'm like, I'm going to learn everything about this place. I'm going to make it so that they can't get rid of this doorman. I'm going to be the best doorman they ever knew. So
love that
eventually,
attitude.
when they were having trouble with the projectors, because I was spending my night times learning the projector.
Okay.
They were having trouble showing the movie, and nobody could figure it out. So they're like, well, ask the doorman, because he's here every night. Maybe he knows. So here I am, Scott, the doorman, going up there to fix the projector, and it just kind of took off from there. So I started my own business in 2012, Golden Age Cinemas.
Okay.
And I had the drive-in theater, McHenry Drive-In, and the Liberty 1 and 2 in Libertyville, the indoor theater.
The small one they had downtown there.
Correct. Yep,
yeah,
on 21 there, yeah.
God, that's been Libertyville's having a whole fun time to figure out what to do with that building now. All right, so this was going to come up, and I'm just out of curiosity, we're going to start right out the gate. What's your favorite movie?
Boy, I answer that in two ways. So there's my favorite movie, and then what I think is the best movie ever made.
Okay.
Boy, my favorite movie depends on the day. My favorite movie, boy, I know it's such a cop-out answer, but Empire Strikes Back is my favorite.
Wow, okay. I didn't think you would go there. Okay.
It's got a little of everything. It's a great story. If you just look at that as a single movie, it's a great movie. The ups and downs, the special effects, the writing, the acting, the shocker at it's got everything that a good movie should have. I'd also put Blade Runner up there.
Oh, the
original Blade Runner.
Yeah.
I think is it's a movie they're still breaking down to this day.
Oh, you could watch it 100 times over. It's like a Fight Club is another one.
Right, Fight Club's another one. And plus, there's like 100 different versions of Blade Runner too, so you got to watch them all. But Blade Runner, I would say, and Empire Strikes Back. Best made movies though, I'd say Vertigo by Hitchcock. And I love Lawrence of Arabia, David Lean's Lawrence of Arabia.
Okay.
Yeah.
Surprise, not surprise. Those are all great movies. I mean, and we could probably create a favorite movie for every single category.
Right.
I also love a good movie with like a surprise twist to it, like towards the end, and like I now like watching those movies, people who haven't seen them, and then seeing their reaction, because it's like, well, I know the punchline, but
that's the funny thing. That's one of the things I love about this job is you see the movie, and that feeling you get where you get to share it with someone who hasn't seen it. That excitement you have, like, oh, I remember when I first watched it, and now you're going to find out that Darth Vader is Luke's father. You get excited for them to experience that too, and that's what I love about this job is because I see the movies and I want to share them with my friends. Well, what better place to share them than with a few thousand people who think like I do,
like 5 times a week,
right? It's the best feeling. Yeah,
I love that. So start Golden Age cinemas. What year was that again?
That was 2012.
2012, and that started here with the drive-in.
With the drive-in, right?
You guys, we're actually sitting in the middle of the drive-in right now, recording this. It's weird to be here in like the middle of the day. I'm not gonna lie, like you see it all.
It's a strange feeling, yeah.
So you started the drive-in in 2012. Why the drive-in? Because that's a very different beast than like a normal theater.
Right. Well, I was with the drive-in in 2000 when I was at the downtown theater.
So they're connected.
So there were 8 theaters total that I was running at the time when we acquired the other theaters. To start with, it was just the McHenry downtown. McHenry Outdoor was part of that, so I was part of the drive-in running it from 2000 to 2012. So when I took over in 2012, I mean, the drive-in was always kind of like the crown jewel of all the theaters because it was so unique and so different. It operates and performs in a totally different way than what an indoor theater does.
Yeah.
I mean, the rules to booking a movie, I mean, we have one screen that has to share the screen with 2 studios, 2 movies.
Yep.
So trying to get the movie studios on board with cutting you a deal for movie A and then cutting a deal for movie B, it's really difficult. But to answer your question, the drive-in was always an important part of me growing up, and then it became an even more important part of me when I became involved with it in 2000. So when the opportunity came in 2012 to physically own it, the business, and then eventually own the property, it was a no-brainer.
Yeah.
No-brainer.
You were already bought in. This was your heart. This
I
was your
sold,
baby. Yeah,
I was sold before it was even for sale. Yeah.
Maybe on paper it wasn't officially yet, but it was yours.
100%.
Yeah. Very cool. What is? You kind of started talking about it, so I never even thought about that. Actually, was the different studio issues of showing 2 different movies on the same screen, right? Like, so what are some of the other challenges that are very different than maybe a typical movie theater would see?
So even with the 2-screen theaters or any theater, has the different auditoriums. So you'd get a new movie, like we have Inside Out 2, huge movie right now.
Oh my God, I can't believe how it's doing.
Crazy.
I did not see that coming.
No.
Never would have guessed
I knew it'd do
that.
well. I mean, it's Pixar, but wow, yeah, that shocked everybody. But so Inside Out 2, if I had that at an indoor theater, it would be in my largest auditorium.
Right.
And as the weeks go by, because you have to keep a movie longer, you would move it to a smaller theater and then to the smaller theater. We have 1 screen, so
that's all you get.
You have to keep this movie 3 to 4 weeks. So you are always looking for what movie will pair well with it. What movie should play after it? Is there a movie that should play before it? And then as you're negotiating with, Inside Out 2 is a Disney. Mm-hmm. So if I want a Warner Brothers title, I say, hey, listen, Warner Brothers, I got Inside Out 2 playing, and I need to play Dune 2, for example.
Yeah.
So then they say, okay, you're playing Inside Out 2, we'll give you Dune for 60%. I'm like, well, wait a minute, I'm getting Inside Out 2 at 60%. Like, I can't pay you 120% of my box office.
Yeah, seriously.
So now you got to do like some hardcore negotiating in order to ensure that you get something left over from box office. All theaters have to go through this, and that's why, to answer everyone's question of why is popcorn so expensive, that's why.
That's the only place where you make money.
That's it, right.
Okay.
The studios take pretty much everything from box office.
That's insane. I didn't know it was that high now. Or
Yeah,
has
it's
been.
higher for the new ones, and I mean they decrease as the weeks go on. But
Still.
I got to show 2 movies on one screen, and I get one showing at night. I'm not playing it, multiple times a day in a theater.
And so are you dealing like, God, I can't even imagine. Like, you're negotiating. Like, I mean, basically every week you have to or every 2-3 weeks you got new stuff coming out.
Well, every week we have at least one new movie. So yeah,
Okay.
every week I have to begin the negotiating, and you can't do it in advance because you don't know how long you're going to keep a movie. It's
Right.
performance based.
Yeah. Like
So it's
Inside Out
week to
might
week.
it's gonna linger. That one might stick around for a little while.
Right.
But some of the other, something that flops. It's like
Fall Guy. Fall Guy's a good example. Fall
Yeah.
Guy comes out, and it was a good movie, but it didn't respond well to the public.
Yeah.
So that one you were able to get out a little earlier, but how do you forecast that? You can't.
can't.
No.
I mean, we all have surprises, or then, movies flop at the theater, but for some reason, once they get it home, they're massive hits,
Right.
For no particular reason. There's no rhyme or somehow reason.
Well,
But
I mean,
that's it.
there's movies that I specifically did not show here years ago, like 20 years ago.
Okay.
Because they weren't projecting to do well. Nobody was really asking for them. And now today, I'll show those movies that I skipped out on as part of our cult classic weekend. Big Lebowski was not going to cut it as a main feature.
No, you would
But,
never
oh
get
my
a draw
God.
for it, but now you do it. You probably pack it
it's
all
cool.
night
People
on it.
come from like Ohio, and
Yeah.
it's insane. It's insane.
So because just ask everybody, but is there a story behind the name Golden Age Cinemas, or is that just kind of fitting?
It was because the drive-in was kind of the focal point for any theatrical business that I would do. I knew that the drive-in was the battle that I have to face with the drive-in every day is you have to walk that fine line of what's old and what's nostalgic. Like, I want to be nostalgic, but I don't want to be old.
Right.
And it's hard to look through that lens and get it just right. So when thinking of a name, I wanted to really echo those nostalgic moments, but still be, relatively new, at least in terms of amenities and all of that stuff. So the golden age of Hollywood was kind of what I was going for. So Golden Age Cinemas just kind of seemed to fit what my vision was for this theater.
I like it. No, it works. It doesn't come off. It comes out authentic and vintage, but not like that's like something like my grandfather or great grandfather.
Right.
It's like, hey, you did well. I like.
And it sounds legit. I don't sound like a fool. It sounds like
over corporate or something.
Exactly right. I'm not
like,
cold and corporate. And,
Movies LLC.
There you go.
Or something.
Right.
And so I kind of glazed over it, but so you also had the theater in Libertyville.
I did.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And then just did building just get too old on you, or just was?
Well, all the theaters that I had were really old.
Yeah, I was gonna say you took on a lot of
really
pretty old theaters. Yeah.
And so the problem it was a bunch of different factors that went in that really killed the whole independent theater industry. One was in 2014 they stopped doing film. It went digital.
Yeah, so the projector
So
stuff.
yeah, the projector, that's like $200,000 a projector.
What?
Yeah, so these little mom and pop theaters, which I was one,
Yeah.
there was no way we were going to do that. And my number one focus was here at the drive-in because that was a much more expensive projector.
The projector here for the drive-in's more expensive?
Because it's a much larger projector. It's an 8,000 watt bulb.
Oh, God, yeah.
At the indoors, I was using 4,000 watt bulbs. So a lot more when
you're
the
dealing with a lot more ambient and further. I'm guessing a further bigger picture.
Correct, right. And you wanted to keep it bright, and So the transition from 35 millimeter to digital film was a huge blow to the independent scene. Also, I mean, COVID, obviously.
Oh yeah, we're going to talk about that for sure.
That was a nail in the coffin of a lot of independent theaters. Not to mention what it did for drive-ins. Because along with COVID, it was also when COVID hit, they stopped production on films.
Right.
So what do? People can't come into the theater because you're shut down.
Mm-hmm.
There's no movies being made, so that doesn't just affect you now with no movies being released. It's going to affect you for a year or two down the road because there's no product. So it was a bad time. It was one hit after the other. And very few survived, especially the indoor locations. There was just nothing you could do.
Yeah.
And most of those indoor operators didn't own their property, so I feel bad. It was written on the wall. The streaming, day and date streaming for new movies. I mean, nothing was.
It was everything was against them.
Everything was against them. Yeah.
And that's I've had quite a few different businesses that they came from. They're in the hospitality or the restaurants or now the theater is like some of the most hard hit of COVID, of these radical decisions we were making on the fly, and it's just like, and some clawed their way back, but a lot didn't. There's a lot of, I would say, silver lining, but God, it blows my mind that
it's unreal.
Yeah.
Looking back at how things have changed in 4 years is unbelievable. It's night and day from what it was in 2020. This industry, I don't even recognize it.
You can't. I mean, and then now I feel we're seeing another big transition. Now they're trying to get away from the streaming releases early.
Right.
And then we need our box office tickets. I don't know. And it's just, Hollywood's been and then everything's remake. Don't get me wrong. I like a good remake or a sequel, but like everything is.
Yep.
It's
sequel, remake.
God, give me some like good original writing, guys. Like, hello.
Yep.
Like, come on. We can't really relive the 80s and 90s, forever.
Right.
But anyway.
Well, it's like when they had the writer's strike last year, which is another problem that I know we'll talk about. But the writer's strike, I'm like, well, what writers? The sequels write themselves, right?
Yeah.
You can't tell me anyone wrote that, So, yeah, the writers and actors strike really set us back here now this year with another delay and everything.
Well, just, yes, a lot less new content, and
Yep.
it's like bigger budgets, less movies. And it's like, it's like, but it doesn't work all, and then don't get me wrong, I like a good actor being paid for what they deserve, but when they eat up like 90% of a movie's budget,
The budget goes to one guy's salary,
like,
right?
Basically, it's like, thanks, Rock.
Right,
if you're listening, thanks, buddy.
What's wrong with this picture?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I just think writing is gone too. Like, I love movies that have like, give me some. Don't get me wrong, I love a good action movie. Like the new Top Gun lived up to my standards.
Yes.
Absolutely loved it. But it's the exact same movie as the first one. Just the characters just aged.
Right.
But, one movie I just I fell in love with, it's just all about good writing, was Miss Sloane.
Oh, sure.
God,
yeah.
And it's just like, where's the... Give me some emotion. Give me something tied to, and it just feels so flat lately. But
it's definitely more. I'd say movies that you see in theaters now are more of a consumable product. Whereas I think the movies that you and I like to see in the theater where you could chew on it for a week, right? Those
like,
you find
your
all
mind hurt,
yeah.
Like,
give me like my 12 Monkeys, my something that's going to stick with me for a while. Fight Club, like you mentioned.
Usual Suspects.
But when's the last time you saw one of those in a movie theater?
Yeah.
Let's say the same thing's happening with like the American comedy. When's the last American comedy you saw? Superbad? Hangover 3, maybe?
Yeah, because they can't make the money.
No, or they're all Netflix. Adam Sandler is strictly Netflix.
Well, yeah, he got paid a shit ton of money for that.
Exactly.
Though,
so there, the theatrical, the exhibition side suffers. If you would have told me 10 years ago that Happy Gilmore 2 is going to come out but not be in theaters, I'd say you're crazy. But here we are.
Yeah. Everything needs to be a franchise. It's like, why does everything have to be a big franchise, or everybody needs to be a universe? It's like, just give me one good movie. Just call it a day.
Doesn't have to be a sequel. Doesn't need a sequel. Right.
Yeah.
The one and dones.
And that was one of the big things. Like growing up, it got me. I liked movies more than TV. Was there was a beginning, there was a middle, and then there was an end. And
right.
My emotions got through it all. I got there and I was finished and I felt completed. And that was one thing on TV. It draws out every week. It's a little something. You got to wait till next week. And now the binging world, those are just long movies chopped up in episodes. Let's just be real.
Exactly.
But it's just like now you get like the intent of movie making is now, all right, how many more movies can we get out of it?
Yeah.
It's just like I don't know.
And then to muddy the waters more, you've got the streaming platforms. So you got Disney Plus.
You're right.
So if you want to see the new Deadpool and Wolverine and really want to know what's going on, you got to watch 30 movies before that.
Seriously,
I think there's 16 Disney Plus shows.
Things, yeah.
Nobody's a bigger fan of the movies and especially the popcorn blockbusters than me. I'm behind.
Yeah.
If I'm behind, what's the average moviegoer? He's completely lost.
Yeah, and they make references that only what percentage of your group's gonna get.
Right.
Your audience. Excuse me, but God, we could talk movies all day.
Yeah, I know.
Movies are. I mean, I ask my wife. Like, I'm movies. Give me movies all day. I can't do TV. Like traditional. I'm going to say traditional TV because I think streaming kind of changes that.
Right.
I talked about it for a second. There was, Netflix drops a new quote unquote show.
Yep.
But you watch the whole thing. You watch all 10 episodes. You just watched a 6-hour movie just chopped up. It's not.
Yeah. It's just
not
got 6 intermissions.
Or it's not like a. Episodic, you could watch just that episode and be good about it. You actually have to watch the whole thing.
Right.
Anyway, so God, what do we want to talk about? Let's talk about the theater itself. So you've been since 2012. This has been your baby. Well, actually, even longer than that.
Yeah.
But what has changed the most from, like, the equipment, the like setup, like what? Because when I sit in here right now, like visually looking, it looks like what it looked like when I was in here, 20 some years ago.
Right.
Like, is it pretty much kind of ran the same way today?
For the most part, operationally, it is.
Okay.
We still have. I guess the big difference is, so I've been coming here my whole life, so I know like every trick to get in here for free. so like. We have stuff that we didn't have before, where I've got a trunk checker because I used to get in here in a trunk,
Of
right?
course, yeah.
I got people watching the fence because I used to jump the fence. So you have someone on the inside who's me, who's watching out for all these things that they didn't catch before. But honestly, we've made a lot of changes. So structurally, it looks the same, minus like some beautification and stuff. But we replaced the screen 2 years ago. That hasn't been done in
how big
maybe
is that
ever.
screen?
That's a good question. The actual screen part, the white part that you see the image on, I think that's 100 feet by, I'd be guessing 75 maybe, roughly.
God, yeah.
I know it's like 7 stories tall, the actual
and that's
tower.
a majority of that 7 stories. Yeah, I bet you're 60, 70 feet of the screen
Could
itself.
be, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys, it's huge. If you've ever been like up in the front row of the drive-in, man, that thing is monstrous. And when you say you change the screen, there's like a physical like material there. It's not just like a white painted wall.
No. I mean, it is a white painted wall, but that wall is what needed to be replaced. It was rotting, and it was a mix of concrete and wood. So it was kind of scary because if it hasn't been off in decades, you don't know what's behind it, right? So I'm like, all right, so we get the screen off. We're going to be able to put one up again. They're like, well, we'll have to see. It had to happen. So we got the new screen. The concession stand is completely gutted and redone. Bathrooms. So more the functionality of the theater is the same. But again, what we were talking about before of walking that line between being nostalgic and old, I would say nothing's really old here anymore, but it still retains that nostalgia. What you said when you sit here, it feels like it did from 20 years ago.
But it doesn't feel broken down and gross. It doesn't feel like it hasn't been touched since then.
There you go. Right.
Yeah, it's
right.
like, but it still feels like pulling in, like the same thing when I was a kid. I love that. Do people still use like the hook speakers? Because I saw you could tune into the radio now. Right?
Yeah, so you can tune into a FM station, which is cool because most people's cars have better sound systems than my indoor theaters did. So you can listen to it through the FM radio. We rent radios in concession, but yeah, we still have those old little boxes on the poles, and they do work. The problem is those are real hard to find, so people will cut them off.
Seriously?
And the funny thing is, I mean, we have our stamp on the actual, like a metal stamp on the speaker. So every week I go onto eBay, look for our speakers that are being sold for $55.
Oh my God.
Contact eBay, get the speaker sent back to us. It's a constant thing.
But
yeah, some people still prefer the old tinny mono sound to what they have in their car.
And people suck sometimes.
Sometimes they do.
Steal the speaker. Like
I know.
And then what? So you're selling on eBay for $55 after fees and everything. You're probably making what, $30?
Right,
you know, it's like, come on, guys.
And when they cut it takes my whole row out.
Oh,
so all
they're
summer
all
I'm chasing.
in.
Yeah,
that sucks, man. God.
But they work.
I mean, and I just like the look of it. Like, it's just, I think that's the pole is part of that nostalgia for me. Is like, now I have a beautiful brand new truck with a Bose sound system, so I'll probably listen to it on my FM radio. But maybe the timing remind me of this. So there was a point where this almost closed, right? Like I remember online reading a bunch about this that was like close to closing, but you needed the new project. Was this around 2014?
This was at 2014. So I was trying anything to raise money for this projector. So I'm like, I'll be owner in 2012. I knew that we had to go digital.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, that's definitely something I'm going to have to climb here soon. So I did, you name it, I did. I was on all these television shows, radio shows. I had fundraisers, and we weren't coming anywhere close to raising the money that we needed for this thing. Because it's not just the equipment, but you got to, the projection booth has to be climate controlled and all this weird stuff we didn't have to worry about before. So anyway, long story short, I found out about this contest that Honda was having. So I'm like, why not? I'll enter this contest. They're giving away the top 5 vote getters. All you have to do is go online and vote at Honda, and the top 5 vote getters who had to be drive-in theaters would be given the digital equipment.
No way.
So I entered this thing like a week late, and it was like a month-long contest. And I'm like, oh man, I'm going to get everybody to vote. Like this is going to be like a wildfire. I'm going to get everyone to vote. So we had kids at like all the local schools, like before they could start work, the teacher would say, all right, get out your computers. We got to vote for the outdoor.
Love that.
So
the community came together.
Yeah, the community came together. So a month goes by, 4 winners have been named, and I'm depressed, and I have to come out here on a Saturday to do a interview, and I don't want to do it because I think that we've lost. I don't want to talk to anyone about it anymore. So I come here, and they're doing an interview about how we have to go digital. I've done like 1 million of these. And they go, so how does it feel to win the equipment? And now I'm like upset because I'm like, I just got done telling you like for an hour that I didn't win, that we need to win this equipment.
Yeah.
And I was getting kind of annoyed, and they go, no, how does it feel to win the equipment? And they peeled like this label off their van.
They sandbagged you.
And it was
my God.
Honda. So they showed up and they presented us with the equipment, and
that's kind of cool.
That saved the drive-in. Not only did it save the drive-in, but all the money that I was allocating for the projector for here, I was able to convert Libertyville with that. So it's we really saved 2 theaters.
That's incredible.
So yeah, we wouldn't be here if we wouldn't have won that contest.
How much did the one for here, was it like, is it the same one that you would have used at Libertyville? Or
no, this was a different one. So altogether, including renovating the projection booth, it probably would have been about $300,000.
God, that's crazy.
Yeah, and I think I had raised like 35. I wasn't close.
Fundraising is. I mean, I do a lot for other organizations. Fundraising is the worst.
No.
Man, it's hard.
So I did have an ace up my sleeve. I was like, you know what? If this doesn't work, if I don't win this contest, I'm going to go on the tower. I'm going to stay on the top of the tower until we raise enough money. That I'm like, they're going to have to get me down, right? They won't leave me up there, so we'll raise the money. Yeah, I know. The odds are, I'd still be up there, but
could be there for a couple hours, and people will be like, good luck, buddy.
Yeah, sorry, Scott.
Did you have like a plan B if like the theater?
That was my plan B.
That was your plan B.
Literal plan B.
I'm going to just stay up there.
I'm going to stay up there until they get enough money to bring me down.
Is there a way to even get up there?
Oh, yeah. You go on the inside. There's a ladder goes up the wall.
Oh, there's like an internal.
Oh, yeah.
So it's just not literally just a wall.
Dude, I had a whole pulley system like to get food up to me. Like this was really thought out. I had a tent that we measured for up there.
Oh my God.
This was a real thing.
You really thought you were ready. You were ready.
I was not walking away from this theater. No, I was going to get this done.
I also appreciate you sitting on just this bench as we get it's 90-some degrees
It's
outside,
hot.
guys.
Yeah.
We are sitting outside doing this podcast. But honestly, I think the breeze that we kind of have is our saving grace, and we get like shade every few minutes. But it is toasty outside.
Bad, yeah.
This is the like 1 week a year where it's like 90 degrees in Chicago, right?
Right.
And then it'll be 70 and rainy. I won't get to use my pool.
Yeah, we'll have to shovel by next week. Watch.
Don't jinx us, man. All right, so let's dive in to COVID a little bit. So, because if you ask somebody who wasn't deep into the movies and the scene and what went on and how it went, like they would have thought the drive-in was the saving grace to COVID was the saving grace to drive-in. I think I say that right now because it's like, well, you had to be outdoors, you had to separate, super easy, but that wasn't the case, right? At least not early on.
No, it was. I mean, there was no like prerequisite. There was no like instruction book to follow of, okay, drive-ins, what do you do during a pandemic? There's
Nobody,
nothing.
right?
No, we didn't know what to do. So real quick, when I found out that we could be open, which was a fight all by itself, was to make sure we were open. I'm like, okay, now I know we can open. What do we do? There's no movies. Like, what do I do with this space?
Yeah.
So I could show old movies, classics, and I did do that here and there, and they do well, but I need those 900 car nights, and Jaws and Twister are going to bring in only so many. They're movies that people can watch at home. They either own it or they can stream it. So I'm like, man, I got to come up with something like really different that's going to get a response from the public. So I got in touch with a promoter who does concerts, and I knew they were suffering too. So I got a hold. His name was Don Kronberg with Nightlight Productions.
Shout out.
Shout out. He was awesome. So he goes, this is perfect because I represent bands that have to perform a certain amount of times to live up to their contracts. He goes, so now we got a place for them. So we built this huge stage and like took 2 days to build, and we had to hire like a 25-man security team. So we did concerts. So we became a concert venue.
That's so cool.
And with each subsequent concert, we kept getting bigger and bigger names. And I'm like, wow, like this is pretty cool. So we had our best attendance year ever during 2020.
No way.
But our revenue was nowhere near what it should have been. And the reason for that was you could not come into concession.
Do concessions.
And so you couldn't come into concession, which is where we make the most of our money. That's what keeps us alive. And there's no intermission. There's the concert and it's over. Right. And on top of, the insurance was higher than ever with all the crowds and the concerts. And so it kept us afloat to get to that next year. And you just kept hoping it's going to get better. The industry will catch up. The next year I would say was even worse, 21 than 20, because the movies that weren't getting made, there was no product. And the product that did come out, I can think right off the top of my head, Black Widow, Boss Baby.
Yep.
They were all streaming day and date at home. So the day Black Widow comes out in theaters, you could stay and watch it at home.
Yeah.
So
immediate stream release, I thought that was brutal.
It was.
I had a love-hate relationship, not going to lie, because from a consumer standpoint.
Absolutely. Oh, me too. I'm like, Godzilla Kong at home? Why not?
Right to home. Yeah.
Right.
And that's where, like, Top Gun, one of the best follow-up sequels, whatever, remake, whatever you want to call it. I love that they delayed it to the theater.
I am too. Yeah.
I was so pissed they kept delaying it, but I'm so glad they did.
Yeah, and it was a save. There were two things I think that saved whoever was left in the movie industry. One was Top Gun. I think that was a movie that saved the industry.
Really? That's
for
a
sure.
statement right there.
Absolutely. I think history will look back on Top Gun Maverick as being a turning point in theaters still being around.
Okay.
The other one who saved the theater industry was Scarlett Johansson. Because after that whole Black Widow episode where they were streaming it at home and had it in the theaters, she was like, wait a minute, I was supposed to get, back end money if it performed, if it got X number of dollars in the movie theaters.
Yep.
It didn't. You streamed it at home. So she sues Disney. Now nobody streams at home day and date anymore. So she saved us. Like, she was a lifesaver.
Well, it's such a public about it, because that could easily just have been a, back, office conversation. But the public publicity around it was just so...
It was a story.
Yeah, 100%. And again, some of those actors make a ton of money, but it's in their contract. They earn the money, and now you're legitimately, going around it on them. So, cool. So we've talked. So COVID. So we were doing the theater thing or the concert thing for a minute. Do you do concert stuff anymore now, or are you fully kind of
no, the most that we'll do little bands like in front of concession, but nothing like it did its job. The concerts did. I don't know if I would ever do. I saw things that I don't ever want to see again. I told my wife, I'm like, I'll make my living with the theaters, but I'm going to retire on the book I write of the shit that I've seen at the concerts.
No shit.
Oh my god.
Oh come on. Now you got to give us like one example.
Okay. Oh man. All right. So we had the promoter goes, what would do killer here is an EDM show.
Oh,
I'm like, what is this? I'm like, he goes, don't worry. He goes, it will do really well. The young people respond to it. I had no idea. I'm 47. What do I know about EDM shows? So my staff, who's primarily kids, they go, oh yeah, that's electronic dance music. They're like, this is going to be crazy. I'm like, okay, well that's good. So the people start coming in, and I see that these are they're dressed for the moment, right?
The stuff they wear.
So now I'm getting like a hint of what EDM the scene is like, and so they all pile in, and they couldn't have been nicer. They were cool. The music is not my thing.
Your choice, yeah.
Right, the lasers and stuff. But after they piled in, I was like, okay, you know what? This is going to be all right. It's loud. I'm sure I'll get some noise complaints. So I'm like, whatever. So everything was fine. So I go down to the exit, and because I saw an officer there. So I go down and ask the officer, hey, you want some water or anything? He goes, no. He goes, I do need to talk to you, though. I go, oh, boy. I go, is it too loud? And he goes, no, that's not the problem. And I go, well, what's the problem, officer? And he points like towards the back of the lot at the drive-in, and he goes, "There's a house way down there, and there's a little 7-year-old boy, and your lasers are going into his window, and his parents can't get him to sleep." So
oh my gosh!
Like, all right, so I'm like, who do I talk to go on the stage to angle the lights to get out of this little boy's room? Like bizarre stuff, just some crazy stuff.
Well, that EDM scene too. I mean, it's. Just the people watching has got to be fantastic.
Yeah, it was like nothing I've ever seen here.
So we did concerts for a little while. And so what was the move? Was there a movie that was like you did here that was like you knew you were back into doing movies again? Like, do you know that turning point of like, was that Top Gun? Was that Boss Baby? Was it Black Widow? Or like, did it not really, or did it kind of trickle back?
There were I would look at it as steps. I think opening in 2021 with a new movie was step one. All right, we got movies back. That's good. No matter what the quality is, at least movies are back.
Something, yeah.
Right. Then you had step two, which was Top Gun, a high quality movie that people came to see. It was the first big hit. But I would say, I thought, wow, here we are. We're back to normal. The industry's back. Was the whole Barbie Oppenheimer last summer. That was
Oppenheimer, man.
So good. It was so good. Yeah,
it lived its hype. I was actually really worried. I thought it was getting overhyped, and then I saw it, and I was like, it did
lived
its
up
thing.
to it. Yeah,
it did its thing. Okay.
So when those two came out, I was like, all right, the industry's back, and I had purchased the 15 acres behind the drive-in. I wanted to put 2 more screens up. This is before COVID, so it's been on pause. And last year, I'm like, here we go, like movies are back.
Yeah.
And then the strikes happened. So you had the writer's strike, the actor's strike, production stopped on all the movies. So we usually, like the first weekend of May is usually the big kickoff to summer.
Okay.
It's always the big Marvel movie. You get your Iron Mans, Avengers, those all come out the first weekend in May.
Which Marvel's been striking out lately, but
yeah,
that's a whole other conversation.
So Deadpool and Wolverine was supposed to open May 3rd. I'm like, what a way to kick off the summer.
Yeah.
Well, it got pushed to July, so I'm showing Star Wars Episode 1, is my big headliner, which was cool to have Star Wars on the screen, but still, it's Episode 1,
Yeah, we all have our opinion on Episode 1.
Right. I have fuzzy feelings about that movie, but it didn't bring in the crowds that a Deadpool and Wolverine would have.
So you glanced over at that. You're looking to maybe put 2 more screens up at some point.
If
is that still on the eventual docket?
That's why that land's still sitting back there. Yeah. So I want to have this will be my main screen. So what I want to kind of duplicate is what we talked about. Where at the indoor theaters you can move your movie around as it becomes less busy. So where we're sitting now, this would be the week 1 of Avengers 12 or whatever.
Box
the
office, big movie, blockbuster. Yeah.
So like 2 weeks after that, I'll move it to one of the smaller ones. So I'll keep getting an influx of new features and still be able to show the other ones for the allotted amount of time that I have to by the studios.
That's so interesting.
So that's what I want to do, but we need to catch up here. We need to quit with pandemics and strikes and
oh gosh, yeah, and political agendas and all of it, everything.
Everything's against us.
Just come watch a movie, guys.
It's not hard. Yeah.
I can't tell you the amount of family memories I have coming, Mag. So if you haven't been to a drive-in ever or haven't been to one recently, bring the family. It's so you just can't go wrong. And there's something about the smell of movie theater popcorn.
I know. Yeah.
I even got like a nice it's a small commercial grade popcorn machine at home because I just love popcorn, but it's just not the same. Like I need to come to the movie theater. There's just something about it. It's the way it smells. I don't know. You guys have some top secret butter or something that's only for movie theaters.
The popcorn's great. I can't eat it anymore because over the years, to me, it tastes like how my clothes smell.
My God, yeah.
I mean, I've got a closet just for my work clothes.
The PTSD of the smell.
It
honestly,
is, yeah.
It's like
butter is like it's in my nightmares. That aroma.
You'll find popcorn and like just kind of like a little twitch of something.
Yep.
Like no more popcorn, please.
Right.
God, I can. So one day, 2 more screens. I would love to see the logistics how that all works because that's got to be just even a traffic flow of.
It's actually I can give them to you. We have all the everything's drawn out.
Oh yeah, you're that far along. Or planning, but
because this was in 2020 before the pandemic. So we're gonna have right now the screen that we have faces north.
Okay.
And then I was going to have a screen facing east, a screen facing west.
Yeah.
A concession building in the center that would double as a projection out of the back.
For the other 2.
Right. And then you just tune into a different radio station for each feature.
Oh.
So it would work. It definitely would be much smaller than where we're sitting now, but like I said, I get the rotation going.
How does because doesn't I mean, I guess you would figure it's all dialed in and you'd figure it out. But like, wouldn't like the audio, like when you feel like you'd on top of each other, you'd be like, if I'm sitting in the back row over here, I might feel like I would hear the enough where it's annoying. Like I wouldn't hear them, but
we did a measurement of the sound playing at each field of what it would be if the movies were actually playing.
Yeah,
and the positioning of each not auditorium but each theatrical lot, I guess you could say, where each screen is it's spaced and put where it is so that you don't get the bleed over.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So we had everything at the. We set all the volumes to where it would be if the movie was playing. Spaced out the lots accordingly, and everything seemed to be good. So
you got the science already. You were figuring that. You were far
I was excited
along,
for this, man. I had dreams.
Has there been other drive-ins that have multiple screens?
There's quite a few. Yeah, I don't know about any more. How many are left? But I know in Florida, San Francisco had a couple.
Very cool.
Yeah,
I didn't even know it
seven
was
screen down in Florida.
A seven
screen. Yeah.
Dang, that's got to be huge.
It is huge. It's crazy.
How many cars you fit in this slot in this?
If I have to, I get about 960, 965 in
you
here.
Really had that sounds
I gotta
like
squeeze them in.
Yeah, okay.
This is when 965. I'm like hand parking cars against the fence, and but we can fit about 960.
That's crazy. What's like when does it? What's the number when it's like a good night? Like after like 600, you're like, yeah, okay, we're having a good night.
I guess it depends. It depends on the movie and how long it's been here.
There.
So like
it depends
tonight,
on the percentage. And all that. Yeah.
Tonight's Inside Out 2, but it's week 2. So last week we were doing like 900 cars each night. So if we hit 600 in week two movie, I'd be really happy.
Do you get a lot of people that like come only for the second movie, or is it people if they're here for all of them or both of them?
Not a lot come for the second movie. It depends on what the second movie is. Okay. So like for tonight, last week we had Inside Out 2 and Garfield was second. Most everyone stayed because it's kind of the same
grouping.
Theme.
Yeah.
Right. Tonight we have Inside Out 2 and Bad Boys 4.
See, so I would come just for the Bad Boys.
A lot of people,
that's why I was like,
right.
I'll come for that one. And like Inside Out, maybe I'll watch with the nieces or nephews a different day at home or something.
So we'll get a much larger percentage leaving after Inside Out this week.
Yeah.
But we'll have a larger influx of people for Bad Boys as opposed to when we had Garfield. Nobody came to see Garfield last week. But they'll probably come to see Bad Boys this week.
So
right?
Yeah, it just depends.
Yeah.
Interesting. Let's talk about how we're popping all over the place.
I know, sorry.
No, it's good. I like it. So it's just and that's why I like keep these conversational because it's just like we'll maybe forget to talk about something, but we'll talk about something else instead.
Right.
All right, I know we talked about expanding, but beyond that, if money was no object, what would you do to just this theater?
Wow, honestly, everything that I've wanted to do here is done now. There's nothing.
I love that.
I'm sorry. There's
you
one
lied
thing.
To me. You're already lying to me. All right.
There's one thing left I have to do. So we added a bar here last year. So part of the concession renovation was to add a bar. So we have a beer and wine license.
Yeah.
What I'd like to do is I have a room that's away from everything, and I want to make that a gaming room.
Slot machines.
Slot machines.
Yeah.
So I'm not opposed to doing anything to bring into the theater that will prohibit me from raising prices because I want this to be where families not just want to come to but can afford to come to.
Right.
So adding the alcohol, I'm
shocked. I thought for some reason I thought you already did do alcohol.
Last year was our first year.
Okay, so last year. Okay, Okay, cool.
So anything that I can bring in that will bring in additional revenue where I don't have to raise prices on concession or tickets, I'll do anything.
Yeah, I mean, the slots, and even if it's just a little bit, because that doesn't, the machines themselves, I'm pretty sure don't cost any overhead to you. You got to get like a license and a space, but
right.
But overall, it's a pretty low overhead to get inside.
Yeah, it's a low investment, low initial investment, and almost no overhead. So it'll only help things out. But in terms of what I want to do here, it's taken 25 years, but I think everything that I really wanted to accomplish, like what I see now, was the vision that I had so long ago. New roofs, new electric, new plumbing, new everything. We're kind of set right now.
Yeah, if you guys haven't been out here in a few years, you'll feel like it's the same, but new. Like it's especially the concession area. I'll say you guys that massive overhaul over the years on the concession like that.
Yeah, it was needed 30, 40 years ago.
You said it, not me. Let's talk about you for a little bit. What was like one or two of the hardest lessons of running a business that you learned? Maybe not, it has to be specific to theater, but just running a business in general.
You have to accept that nothing's fair. I guess that'd be the big thing.
Wow! Please double click on that. Is a great statement.
Nothing is fair. Once you get to that point where you realize that the world's not conspiring against you, it's just how life is. Life as a business owner. things happen, and you just have to roll with it as best as you can. And the ones who can creatively roll with it, I think, are the ones who survive and have the longevity. But no, nothing's fair. You have to have a good sense of humor about that.
I hope to all the small business owners that are listening right now, they listen to what he just said. Nothing is fair.
No.
Like, and I think the double P, the click in there as well is like, the world's not conspiring against you.
No.
Like, it might feel that way some days. It might feel like everything is going wrong, but like you said, if you can't let that roll off your back, I mean, then you're done. Like, you're already the wrong direction. Your head's not in the right space. And I think that's huge for running any business, whatever it is if you can't keep your head in the game. I mean, we all have our off days. That's going to happen. Maybe even an off week or month. Maybe everyone had an off 2020, but I think it's super important to realize that, everything is going to always constantly be changing. Except for this theater. It looks exactly the same.
Right.
Was there anything that was really good? That one, like, I'm gonna actually that's going. I have this book.
You do?
It's not like a book. It's like a journal thing I'm working on, and of like pieces of advice. Not even like, just kind of more like philosophy, things
I like that.
And that's going in the book. Like,
right.
That is 100% going in there. Like, I think, and it's even the way you think about it. Like, it's just nothing is fair, and it's like nothing in business is fair.
Right.
Like, somebody has to win or it wouldn't happen, right? Like,
yep.
I'm either buying it because I feel like I'm getting a deal. You're selling it at the price you're selling it because otherwise you wouldn't be making a profit, right? Like, whatever that looks like, you're making this upgrade because I hope it brings in more people to make. Like,
yep.
It's always with the intent of somebody is on the winning side. So now sometimes everybody's on the losing side, but
it's all a risk. Yeah, everything's a risk.
Yeah, and that's another risk. I mean, that's... Running a business is not for the risk adverse.
No,
at all.
I
mean, they do it.
Yeah.
Some do it okay. Some don't make it. But like, sometimes it's like putting $20 on a slot machine, right?
That's what it is. That's a good analogy for sure.
Man, what did you have? I guess. Let's go back in time, or any point in time. Was there somebody who you kind of looked at as like a mentor or a business coach, or someone who gave you the piece of advice that was just like hit you really hard over time?
I think the biggest... We were all on our own when we started here. Nobody knew anything about movies. We had no right operating a theaters. But what I learned, I was real fortunate to have some good bosses growing up, like with first-time jobs when I was a teenager. And so, for example, I worked at a dry cleaners.
Okay.
And my boss at the dry cleaners, Rich Wimmer, he was a really good guy. Now, I don't know anything about the dry cleaning business, but I saw how Rich managed people, kids who worked at the drive-in or at the dry cleaners.
Yeah.
Now I've got kids who work here at the drive-in, and he made the atmosphere and the environment as such that you really wanted to make him proud. You wanted to do a good job, but you also had fun. So a lot of those lessons that I learned from really good bosses in my past, I've tried to bring here, and it works. These were all people who were successes in their field, and I think that they were successes in how they treated people, and how their passion for what they did was contagious. So that's what I try to bring to the table. These kids they don't know how the projector runs, right?
Yeah, of course.
But everybody can learn how to treat another person, whether it's a customer or a coworker. And if you can get that down, everything else falls into place, because you can learn all that other stuff. You can't learn how to be a good person, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think I want to double click on this. How many employees do you have?
Over the course of a summer, we have about 75 to 100.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
That is okay. Well, so you are, from a headcount perspective, by far the biggest company that we brought on. And so one of the things that I don't think we talk about enough, because most of the businesses I interview are very small. They're, them and maybe one or two employees, right? And so my background, for those who are either new to the podcast or just haven't, for some reason, you're listening to me for whatever reason, is in recruiting and hiring. So I used to consult businesses. Now I have a full-time job. I stay with the same company, but on how important it is to hire and how to hire. And, and how we get so caught up in hard skills, right?
Right.
Do you know how to physically do this? Well, what you made the great point. I can teach that. But what I want people to understand is hiring for the things you can't teach.
There you go.
And like being a good person, or certain things like you can't teach work ethic.
No.
Like they either have it or they don't.
Yep.
It's like, now I will say people can go through a traumatic experience, and traumatic seems a little traumatic sounds dramatic, but something happens in their life and they get their shit together, so to say, right? Like, I would say, somebody has a kid, somebody gets married, responsibilities, and they change sometimes. But there's certain things like, I always love hiring people that are looking, not also it has to be looking for work to do, but like looking at things around the business, like, hey, like, Scott, I saw this was broken. Is this, or this is acting this way? Is it supposed to be? Like speaking up and just taking that initiative. There's just certain things about people that those are the things you want to be interviewing way harder for. And I think it's a completely broken process, like globally. Like
it is.
It's not a one person or one company problem or an industry problem. It is we do it in a speed dating model. So you expect me to hire somebody to come work for me for years, in what, an hour and a half interview on something, maybe 30 minutes.
Yep.
It's like, that's mind-boggling. But then you got to be quick to hire, quick to fire too. It's like,
swipe left, swipe right. Yeah, same thing. Yeah.
If you're afraid to fire, you're also not in the right headspace. Like, it's okay. Like, making wrong, because there's sometimes where ego gets so trapped into it, right?
Often.
Like, we're like, I hired this person. No, I made this choice. It's like, I gotta, and then obviously there's the empathetic side. Maybe they've got a reason they need to work, and then you feel bad. But it's at the end of the day, if that's hurting your business, then none of those people are going to have jobs, right?
Yep.
And so that's another thing I try to work with people. It's like that one person can be bringing you down so much, but you have 75 to 100 employees over summer. But and now you said kids. Are you literally like high schoolers, college kids?
It's primarily high school kids, and then we have teachers, because the job works out real good with teachers, which is perfect.
Because they're good with kids.
Oh man, they watch them all day. It's
great.
So I don't have to be here, until 4 a.m. They got it.
They go and teach all year long, and then they take their summer breaks to come and be
Back
around
with
kids.
The kids. Right. In the heat, and
Oh man. Now that's a big staff. Do you handle like day-to-day operations, or have you brought in some good leaders?
I've got really good leadership. We call them location managers, and they've been with me for, some of them have been here 8 years now.
Oh, wow.
Some worked with me at the indoor theaters, and now they're here. But yeah, we have a good core group of veterans, I guess, that have been here. And anyone who comes in new, it's usually their first job. And so to have a team of 4 or 5, they're not kids anymore, but 4 or 5 people that are young enough for high school kids, juniors, to look up to and mimic and model themselves after, it's huge.
Yeah, I think this day and age, I think that's bigger than ever. I can't emphasize that enough.
Yeah, I would agree.
More than ever.
Yep.
I'm going to stay off that soapbox for today, but it's huge, very, very huge to have that. And I think that says a lot about you, having people here 7-8 years with you. I mean, job loyalty is basically out the window, which there's a whole nother conversation around that. But to have people that want to stick with you and be here, that says, people don't quit jobs, people quit bosses. That's the end of the day, 100%. Like, the pay could suck, but like you said it yourself. Like, you worked for some great bosses and you stuck around, worked at those places. Probably working at a dry cleaner wasn't actually fun.
No.
But having the right, manager, having the right people around you. At the end of the day, we work to pay bills. It's not work to be, quote unquote, necessary to be fun. We can enjoy our time there. Yeah. But, if the people around you aren't the right people, it's
a drag.
Yeah. And it's worse than anything, And then if the job does suck too on top of it, ooh.
Yeah, that's
woof.
Double trouble.
Yeah, seriously. Now, do you guys, I'm assuming, just be given the age group, you have a pretty high turnover.
We do. And even my staff that's been here for 8+ years, I know it's not permanent. It can't be. We're seasonal. They all eventually they get married. They have kids.
Yeah.
But they sacrifice their summers every year. They give up their summers. Like, kids. Could you imagine, when you were 16,
Nope.
18, giving up your summer? Me neither,
No,
man. No. But they do it. They don't complain. I mean, I've been very fortunate over the years. Every single year we've had a good staff that I would bring back the next year if I could.
And that's crazy because staffing right now is so hard everywhere, and the fact that you can manage it is incredible. It says a lot. It says a lot.
Well, that's that's one of the reasons we have like 100 employees is because they rotate in and out. I mean, it's
True.
They're still kids and it's still
100%.
summer, so they gotta, they got summer vacations, so people rotate in and out. But it's a really good core group. They do things on the side together. I mean, they all come in as strangers, most of them, and they all leave at the end of the season as best friends, and that's kind of cool to see.
Sounds like summer camp I went to.
Yeah, right.
Very similar, but this way cooler. They just sit and watch movies, and people watch and eat all the popcorn.
Yep.
Yeah, probably don't want to eat popcorn
Same
anymore.
thing.
But, let's. We're not a lot of time left, but we're getting close here to the end. Let's talk about. All right, let's do this. How about somebody was going to start, one of these kids were going to go start their own business. They've been here 8 years. Now they want to go do their own thing. What's one piece of advice you would give them?
Wow, what a good question. Boy, if I could give them one piece of advice, get a good accountant. Number one, get yourself a good accountant. For sure, though, because I found when I, just by happenstance, I got my accountant first, right?
Okay.
And my accountant, the accountants in general are great sources for, you need to get your business license, go here. They're a great source for where to go for everything that you need for a business. Plus, you need an accountant anyway. So just get a good accountant and use them as your sounding board in the beginning. And they usually have pretty good, they have clients that they can refer you to. They have
100%.
Yeah, I find that an accountant is a really good source for anything.
I think I'm going to use a little shameless plug here. So we actually had an accountant on a few weeks ago. If you guys go back and listen to that episode with Jared Smith, he's a great accountant, but don't get me wrong, look for a good accountant. But we spend half the episode talking about the things business owners don't think about when they first start, and he goes back and has to fix. And if they'd have known it from the beginning, how much money, time, legal stuff they wouldn't have ran into if they'd just, spend a few $100 and get a good, even if it's just a consult. Like, you don't have to commit. Just a lot of these guys will just go through your information, go check everything out. I think having good books in order, good accountant, keeping as much money from Uncle Sam to setting yourself up legally to, I forgot about the referral base too. Like they
know everybody.
They got their
They're
hands
like a
all
hub.
over. Yeah.
Small market, small business hub.
Yeah. That's a good one. Good. Get a good accountant. Note that. Write that down. All right. Let's do some plugging for you. What talk to us about the theater. What are hours? Do you have specials? What should people be looking for?
Yeah, well, now we're open 7 days a week, and we'll be open. We typically open, now we open in mid-March, and we go through Christmas.
That's crazy.
Once school is in session, we're only open Fridays and Saturdays.
Okay.
But so right now, it's we're open 7 days a week. Tuesdays and Thursdays, you can get in for $14 for your whole carload.
Oh, wow.
So if you got 100 people in your car, it's only $14.
I got to pick up that. I'm going to see how many people I'm going to get in there. Yeah.
So it's carload night on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Wednesday's subtitle night, because I'm finding there's a lot of people that are, obviously it's for the hearing impaired, but there's so many people who watch, I'm one of them, watch like Netflix with the subtitles on.
I'm that guy. Yep.
So many people do that. So that's become kind of a big hit. And then Mondays we have free popcorn. So if you come on Monday, you get a free popcorn. And
Monday's my date night. So I'm going to, we have the kids gone. So we'll do Mondays and free popcorn. I'll get my money's worth from there. I have to say the social media, positivity around you guys doing the subtitles for the hearing impaired was been amazing. Like I'm seeing it everywhere talked about for positive reasons.
I was shocked at the response to that. Yeah.
And I absolutely love it because I can't believe how many movies I went back and I'd end up watching with subtitles on, and either one I misunderstood what they said,
right? Or that was the line,
or you'll hear like the peanut gallery comments. You don't really hear them, but you'll see it written. It was like, there's just been so many little things from that. But it all stemmed from like late at night watching a movie in bed, and the wife's passed out, and I'm like, well, I can't turn the volume up, so I'm sitting there reading some subtitles. Yeah. It's like
I found I think it's a lot of fun. If you get time at home, try this because you'll thank me later. But watching a really bad movie with the subtitles on, like you watch Bloodsport and you get the subtitles for Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, it's a whole nother level of comedy. I'm telling you.
I love the ones where Netflix has this a ton, where like it's a European filmed movie that's dubbed English, but then the subtitles don't align with the dubbed English, right. And it's like my head just hurts. It's like,
what was the Dark? I think it was the show I watched that was like that. It was Swedish, but it had and then it had the subtitles. Like, no way, this isn't working.
There was the only one I can clearly recall because I liked the show so much was that bank heist movie or bank heist show on Netflix. It was they all wore the red suits with the mask. Anyway, a lot of people listening right now know what show I'm talking about. Heist, was it called Heist? Anyway, but it was like filmed in Spain, but then English dubbed, and then the subtitles were off completely, and it was just like it actually was the only I had to turn them off because it was so different.
Just annoying, yeah.
Cool. So you've got like all kind of weekday happy hour specials going on. We got Monday free popcorn, Tuesday
and Thursday
carload.
Right.
Wednesdays are subtitles, and then weekends as per usual.
Yep.
What do you think? All right, you're not allowed to say Inside Out, but what do you think the biggest movie summer is going to be, minus Inside Out? Just because it's for some reason, like, it's doing well. We all knew that, but it is blowing expectations out of the water.
It is. It's going to do well. I don't think it's going to be the top three. I think number one. No.
Oh, wow.
I'm sorry. It'll be top three, but I don't think it'll be one or two. I think number one by far is going to be Despicable Me 4.
Yeah, I forgot that one's coming this year.
I mean, 4th of July week. It's opening on a Wednesday.
Yeah.
It'll be the best for us here because here the other thing I have to think of is because the other movie I'm thinking of is Deadpool and Wolverine, which will do monster. But for
not
me,
here. Yeah,
it'll do really well here. But the issue is, it's not an issue. It's just what it is. The people driving in their cars to see Deadpool and Wolverine. It's a date. Like it's 2 people, 3 people maybe.
Yeah, you're not
but you
bringing
get Despicable
6
Me.
kids.
The kids can't drive themselves, right? So Despicable Me will be our biggest movie, and I think Deadpool, Wolverine number 2. Just because I think that'll have the longest legs, and then probably Inside Out.
Yeah, I had my money on Deadpool.
Although I think Twisters is going to shock a lot of people.
I think it's either going to go one extreme or the other. I hope it goes well. The previews look fantastic.
They do.
And I loved Old Twister, and I'm coming here specifically to watch it because like I told my wife already, just because of the drive-in scene in the first one.
Yep.
I was like, we have to go see the new Twister in the drive-in. Like it.
Well, the funny thing with that, I played Twister 5 times, the original one.
Yeah.
5 times in 25 years, and 4 of those times we had tornado warnings.
I remember you posting about that.
Oh my god,
that's hilarious. Oh my gosh.
The good thing with Twisters this year is I can't get it opening weekend because it opens the week before Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah.
But if I pick it up a couple weeks later, they're going to allow me to show it with Twisters. So I'll do a Twisters double feature. That's going to be killer.
Oh,
I can't
dude, you're
wait for
killing
that.
me. Yes, absolutely.
That's going to be wild.
I love that. Well, very cool. It is. The hour even already flew by. I told you. I mean, we've got our suntan on. I took a shower, which was absolutely completely pointless at this point, but it was absolutely worth it. Scott, what's the best way for people to find info on the movies? The social media, website?
Yeah,
what's
there's
best?
2 ways. Best way would be social media. You can find us at McHenry Outdoor Theater /Golden Age Cinemas. We have Instagram, McHenry Outdoor Theater _GAC, or our website. And all of this is updated daily. That's www.goldenagecinemas.com.
And you guys, I know we rush through that every week, but I will have it all plugged in the post.
Thank you.
Yeah. Linked everything because I'll get a million questions on it anyway.
Yeah.
Well, very cool. Was there anything we didn't cover that you were hoping to talk about today?
No, man, you hit things that I didn't even think about. So this was really good. This was fun. Thank you.
And I want to do a shameless plug for you if you wanted to. We could totally cut it out anyway. But you have a radio show, right? You used to do a podcast. Now have a radio show. Is that what?
Oh, I had a podcast. Now it's more of a commercial, really. I do like a half-hour commercial at Star 105.
Just plugging out, talking about the movie.
Pretty much what's coming up and stuff.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Scott used to do a podcast, so we bonded on that. So,
Well, very cool, Scott. Well, I appreciate your time today. Appreciate, too, when you guys come out here, you may see an ad for the podcast, too. So
it's up here.
I got actually a bunch of pings last night about it, so it was lovely. So thank you.
It's better than a few movies we show here, actually.
I tried to rip a movie trailer on it.
That'd be sick.
But it was fun. So thanks again, Scott. Appreciate your time. Again, you guys, this is Small Business, Big Dreams. I'm your host, Eric Bohl, and until next time, goodbye for now.
And that wraps up another episode of Small Business, Big Dreams. Thank you for joining us. Please support us and these incredible small businesses by sharing this podcast with friends, family, and on your social networks. Spreading the word not just helps us grow, but more importantly, supports the dreams of our local entrepreneurs. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform. But if you have a small business we should hear about, reach out to us on social media or our website. We would love to hear from you. Until next week, I'm your host, Eric Bohl. Keep supporting small businesses, and goodbye for now.